Welcome to another episode of Peers Over Beers, your favorite digital and social evangelist podcast, with your industry veteran hosts, Michael Sandoval and Chris Tetzel. This podcast starts now. Hello, and welcome to another episode of Peers Over Beers. I'm one of your hosts, Michael Sandoval.
And I'm your second host, Chris Tetzel.
Nice to see you again, Chris. I hope you're doing well.
I'm doing well, man. How about you?
Oh, very good. Well, yes and no, kind of good. I messed up my knee this past weekend.
Oh my gosh.
Doing chores, which means don't do chores.
That's your first problem, right?
That was the first problem. Second problem is getting old, which is annoying because this weekend I'm scheduled to go to ACL in Austin, the festival.
Yeah.
But that is an enormous amount of walking, which I'm totally up for it every year. This year, I don't know. So I'm kind of bummed that I don't know if I'll get a chance to go, but
is it that bad or?
It was over the weekend. I couldn't do a damn thing.
Oh.
I couldn't walk. I couldn't put pressure on it. I had to go to the doctor and get, steroid shots and the like. And
wow.
I do, not to sound, a whinging thing, but whenever I get stupid steroids, I get very hot and flush. And it's very annoying.
It'd be really hot outside too. So
yeah, smash. So anyway, I'm probably more lamenting the fact that I'm going to have to go to a knee doc and do all that fun stuff. I hate doing that. Anyway,
yeah.
Since you asked,
no, I mean you'll have to get a little. You have to kind of push to. Go ahead.
How do you prevent your knee? I mean, running.
Yeah.
Do you ever get them?
Yeah, my knees hurt a little bit. It's not from running. I guess maybe my ankles sometimes hurt, sometimes, but you just have to, do the right stretching or the right activities. So, like for example, if all I did was run, which lately it is, then kind of my knees start to hurt a little bit. I did have surgery on my knee a couple of years ago, and but after that, man, it was awesome. Like it hurts probably instead of 50% of the time or 60 or more, now it only hurts like 4 or 5% of the time, like not during the run necessarily, but like afterwards it aches a little. It's not bad. I just, I don't do too much, but I do enough. I don't know how to explain it, but you just have to make sure you just take care of it, man. I mean, you never know, like chores and stuff just bend you down wrong or something.
Yeah, that's what it was. It was I was being stupid.
I mean, it's not, so.
It's annoying.
It is. So we got a good topic today, I think.
Yeah, I was going to say, enough of my whinging. So you had some really good questions. I don't know if you want to talk about how they came about. But I always love these kind of thought-provoking questions.
Yeah, I got them from, so we're doing an Ask Me Anything from Higher Logic in the next couple of weeks at their super forum. So I just got the questions from there. We're not going to answer all those questions, but I thought they were really good ones for us to kind of bring up here on Peers Over Beers.
Well, then shoot, sir.
So first question, and probably the one we'll cover all this entire episode because it deserves its own episode. What are your key things for a community manager to track, and which are the KPIs you should share back to the value of a community to your stakeholders?
Oh, that's a juicy one. I love this one.
I know you would. And we've sort of talked about metrics in the past, but not really like this.
Yeah, because there's actually a two-part question here. One is, it sounds like there are certain KPIs you as a community manager need to focus on. We've talked about those things a lot. The second part of this question is a more interesting piece, which is what should you share back to stakeholders to talk about its value?
Yep.
Which is interesting. I kind of want to address that first before the other ones. I feel we can cover that first part. I think we've done it a few times, but we can reassess some things. But
I'm going to let you cover that first, but I want to say this with the...
Go ahead. Why don't you go and do... Well, then go ahead and start into it.
I think it depends on the executive. Some executives, so when you first start a community, I was always under the impression that you should just report back just 2 metrics. basically just two things that are easy: registrations and whatever. Like could be page views, could be sessions, or not necessarily sessions, but maybe like unique visitors is always a good one because that's probably I like that one. But it was just two things. But like my boss, no, and he's a chief customer officer. He's all about the
And
data.
what did he did not like?
No, he didn't. He liked it, but he wants
Oh,
more. Like
okay.
he wants every goddamn thing. You know what I mean? Like, I was
Ooh,
like,
oh.
well,
It's maybe a bit too much.
it might be, but so the answer to that question isn't 100% what you're going to say, but it's very uh, dependent on the leader.
I agree with you. It depends on the leader, because I think the biggest thing here is where the leader, and I'll say leadership, I'll kind of
Yeah,
make it broad, is on their journey on community. So if they're advanced and they understand it completely, it's less you have to explain
yeah,
versus you're going to have to now bring them along. Where things like registration to kind of show activity, they'll get it because it's something they know.
yeah. Well, that's an
Facebook
easy
requires
metric, right?
registrations, right?
Yeah,
Exactly correct. And there's some other things we could talk about, but then that's one area. The second, if they're in the middle, then you can get sophisticated with like how much SEO is driving some of your backlinks into your product, how you're actually driving product conversion, loyalty metrics, and then sounds like your boss may fit more in the first or second quadrant, but he's definitely more in the upper. He just wants it all. And when you have very advanced leaders, you can talk in terms of offset costs
yeah.
and the magic thing about how it's part of the support organization is broadening your reach and making it easier for the enterprise to do business. It becomes a loyalty mark.
I
But you
think
need a lot of time to
also,
get there.
yeah. Let me say this is let's we know that community can do some really good things with support questions, support deflection, and all that kind of stuff. Trying to get to that is slightly difficult, but it is a huge ROI for a business. The other piece, though, is something that my boss asked for, which we're not there yet, but he pushes me to kind of think this way. Um, and one of the metrics that he wants to get to, and it really goes off into others. So the reason I'm saying this is that you have to have um, a goal, a plan to say, well, we're only here, we've got these metrics, but to truly provide business value to the business, we have to get over here, right? So, for example, you could track all these other things. Even
Hmm.
if you track them, what, why are you tracking them, and what are you trying to get to? So, one of the big kind of, in addition to case deflection, although I'm not super hyper focused in on that particular metric, I'm not saying we won't be in the future, but we need more content, to really kind of start seeing that. But is linking current accounts, like in a SaaS B2B SaaS company, you have customers, what we call customers, right? These customers um, are people that we already sold to. So linking customers that are in the community to our account list in Salesforce.com, or let's say customer success managers own own accounts. Can I say 50%, 80% of our accounts are on the community, right? So, and how many users from those accounts are on the community? That's one big metric. Does that make sense?
Say it again. I'm writing it down.
Yeah. So basically, how do you look at, or not how, but our customer success managers own um, uh, accounts, so accounts that have been sold to. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
they're an existing customer. These existing customers are right now are owned by one, at least, or yeah, one CSM. A CSM has an account, a customer.
Mm.
And so in the community, and our community is generally for both partners and customers, right?
Mm.
So we need to make sure we say this many of our accounts users are a customer, percentage wise, to say 58% of our accounts are on the community. That's one metric. Does that make sense?
It does. Now, do you account? Is this accounts or contacts?
We'll just say both. One is accounts. Can we say we at least have one customer from an account, right? And
On the
then
community.
on the community.
Okay,
And
got it,
then
got it, got it.
we can look at users. And then the second piece to that is to kind of look at engagement. So can we then, push? So this is a little bit customization. So we use higher logic. So can we push an API over into Salesforce that links user engagement to those users on the account, and then over time show that because they use the community, or at least you can say community is a influencer, to say they renew more, they renew at higher rates, and they um, buy more, cross sell, upsell, those kinds of things.
Hmm.
That's kind of a golden. Does that
Yeah,
make
that
sense?
is. It does. All that makes sense because I was thinking about the three kind of areas. I was thinking maybe there's the learning, there's the growing, and then there's the insightful. Those are the three stages. And
Yeah.
what you just mentioned was the insightful, which is we've done all this work now in the community. Can we tie that to uh, a real hard business metric? And the hard business metric you just mentioned was, uh, which is the product call. So increase in, I think you call it license renewal. Uh, I think it mentioned something around loyalty.
Yeah, it's
Um,
one is do customers renew at higher rates? So
yep.
renewals at higher rates. Then do they renew more? Do they buy more? So there's two different
Oh, it's
things
okay.
there.
Yeah, it's
When
the
they
share of
renew,
wallet. Yeah. Mhm.
um, and uh, and yeah, is there do we do more cross selling so to other types of business units?
Hmm. Yeah. So they first stay, and if when they stay, do they buy more? And if they buy more, are they crossing into other products?
Yeah,
Cross
so
sell.
there's cross sell, upsell, renewal at higher rates.
Yep. Very good. Yeah. Um, that all is from kind of your perch and where you are today. That totally makes sense. Well, let me ask you this:
Yeah.
how, because that's a very are you saying that are you trying to lead your senior managers to this level of thought?
Um, yes and no. Like,
It sounds like some of it is
yes,
being driven in directive.
it's being directed by our customer, or our chief customer officer. So
Hmm.
he wants that data. Now he understands that you can't easily go get it right now because today the community is disconnected from all business systems. So um, yeah. So I mean, it's going to be hard. We use Excel, and then come up with kind of linked. Hey, these are the accounts, and here's what's in the community, and here's this big Excel sheet, and I get all confused and shit.
Interesting.
Um, but it's still the goal to strive to, and maybe you're still there.
Oops, I think we had a little pause. Sorry about that. That's all right.
That's all right. All right.
Um, it's interesting how you say it. Like it's interesting. It is. It sounds like he knows. So these metrics sound very much like a customer. Uh, like that's part of his metrics for everything. Everything he's
Yeah.
doing in his program, you being one of them,
Yeah.
is where
Yeah.
that's got to be ultimately.
He's including community into that, right? So
Yeah,
that's all he's
totally makes
doing.
sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, it's almost backtrack. You almost need to. Uh, you may need to make sure that those contacts are in the database to see what they're doing. You need to model them. I'm not telling you anything you already
Yeah.
know.
No, you're right.
Um, like even though it's kind of off subject, but in my head, I am sure there is. I am sure there is data right now where you can take your current um, community members and look at them in the past,
Hmm.
from the past before the date before they signed up for community.
Yep.
You would look at 6 months past of those three metrics: renewal status, current, buy, if you will, and if they've cross sold. So surely there's data for all three of those. And then after they sign up on the community, did any of those go up?
Yeah.
And you have a little bit longer scale for some of your renewals. It may not be, I don't know if it's a yearly renewal
Yeah, they're
or,
usually, it probably depends. Some are 1 year, some are 2 years, 3 years.
yeah. So it's going to be a challenge because that's a long haul decision, right? You have
Yeah.
these 3 year increments. You're not going to get that immediate
Yeah.
number without 3 years into it. What would be interesting is to target users. So you can say, hey, who are the members, who are the contacts? No, you probably do it by account that are going to be renewing in the next year,
Yeah.
and using that as a base point to say, hey, let's maybe go sell the community as a place for that, and then you can use that to see whether or not within the year you were able to influence their decision more so than average.
Yep.
That's where you need a data person to kind of help with you define
Exactly.
it.
But I
And
told them that. I go, well, here are the three people I need, and one is a data person for all that shit that you need.
yeah,
I was like, I
but it's
understand why
true.
you want it, and I understand, but I'm not. You can't be all things, right? You definitely need to understand the data and understand kind of what he wants. I got that, but it's I'm not a Excel guru. I'm not a Tableau guru or any of that
You
stuff that
don't need
pushes
to
that
be.
data in. Yeah, we have
Yeah,
people to do that, or people that
exactly.
do
Uh,
that.
that
So
who love to do that, by the way.
that wants to do it. I can explain exactly to them what I need and potentially how to go get it. So
One thing, however, in your control is a little off subject again from the original discussion, but it's about identifying the contact to what you have in the database. So I think you have a separate single sign-on today.
yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So right now, your biggest challenge is how do you tie Joe Blow on your site to Joe Blow on the company site?
But that's easy.
Is it?
Well,
My challenges in the past have been that they'll tend to use their personal information on the community versus their professional information on the site.
sometimes sometimes that happens, but I do ask for their work email, and
Oh,
a
okay.
lot of them put their work
Hopefully
email
they'll
in there.
merge. Yeah. Okay.
Now,
Yeah.
I we do have this thing. We are a master data management company, and we do this thing called match and merge. And so it looks at even
Oh, you can use your own technology.
we could. I'm not saying we will right now, but that is the goal. Is to say, you know, Chris Detzel or C Detzel at Yahoo versus Chris.Detzel at Reltio can then see that, hey, these are a match and a merge. That these are similar and they need to merge so they're one person. And so we do have that technology, and that's what we do on a daily basis.
Mm,
It's a big piece of it, right? Is to
okay.
kind of get push. Anyways, won't go into that, but so that over time can be done.
Okay. Good. So you are right by maybe the first part of all the way kind of coming back to the beginning.
Yeah,
Is that's what's so fascinating about this subject because it's a very broad
yeah,
conversation point.
exactly.
When it comes back to your managers, it the other thing I was going to add to that is what does the business want?
Hmm.
And you said it without me stating it, but
That's right.
your immediate manager is looking for signs around how well they're keeping loyalty, resale of licenses, and cross sell upsell, which is fair metrics, and those are the ones are maniacal for. You have to do it. Overall, we have to prove that the community itself is adding a value, and I just don't know what that value would be.
Short term.
Yeah, there's a short and long term play because it does take time, and it could be that the metrics that are under the community success wing are the right ones to focus on. But I always like to tie to revenue somehow, and um, the
Yeah,
revenue
that's why
will
case deflection is a bit easier to kind of say easy, maybe a bit easier to prove, right?
because it's cost deflection is what you're doing,
Yeah,
but that's reducing cost. I want to be in the game that adds profit, and that's where I look at new people coming in exclusively for the community.
that are
That's
not
that are
current
not a
customers,
contact. Yeah,
leads.
exactly.
Yeah.
Leads to a broadening of your revenue stream because you have an added contact to that
So that's
person.
another conversation is, when I was at Imperva, and I would like to start doing that here, once, sometimes the business isn't ready to do certain things. Just,
Exactly. This
they're
is
just
all
not.
about journey and evolution. Yeah.
But, one thing that I want to get to, and I started to do that, push that in Imperva, and I would have got there if I would have stayed because I had all the infrastructure been put together. Um, was when a new user, and that's why I have a hard time doing just SSO, because
Mm.
SSO for new users doesn't exist, right? So how do you build that into the, technically it's very hard to do. Not to say if you had a developer, you can do it, but it's not that easy to have both SSO for current customers and then a way for somebody to sign in that is not a customer, so they don't have access to all this other shit, just access to the community, right?
Yes.
So it's
100% agree.
technically it's really hard. Like apparently, like I've tried and pushed and be, oh my god, this is really difficult, and I'm like, why? But it is because SSO is for current customers or partners or whatever, and there's no, you have to really build out this technical thing to allow people to sign in, and then to automate the whole thing is really difficult. Anyways, the point is, I'll stop there on that piece but I'm just want to say it's very somewhat technically difficult. But if there's a way for current customers to do SSO, you have that easy way for login and everything else. But also, when a new user from another company that you don't have, there's two pieces to this too. Is it logs into the community, then in my mind it goes to like a CRM, and it's looked at as a lead. So salespeople can work that lead, but then they also have access to community, right? They can
Yep.
post, they can
Yep.
look, they
Yep.
can do
Yep.
whatever they
Yep.
want. The other piece to that though is expansion on um, the account side. So today we use Salesforce.com. I'm seeing a lot of our accounts that come to our community webinars, that come get on the community, that aren't even in Salesforce at all, that are current people, right? So I'm expanding that account in big ways already. Like that's a big add, to say, dude, I have like 25 different users from this one account, that only two or three of them are in Salesforce. We never even had this before.
Hmm.
So how do we automatically push that into Salesforce and put that as kind of a follow up for maybe it's a salesperson or something like that to say, hey, here's a potential expansion opportunity to go cross sell, right? So there are two pieces to that, even on the existing side and the non existing side.
Yeah, I actually think those are brilliant thoughts, Chris. Just from hearing what you're talking about, it sounds like there was an old school mentality about boots on the ground, getting people signed up, and then throwing them over to run and maintenance. And then you get a login to your customer account and you're off to the races. What the company needs to focus on, or part of their strategy should be focused on, how do you acquire new customers digitally,
Absolutely.
and then
This is
put
it.
and yes, and apply an identity management that arcs their customer journey
Yep.
from lead cultivation all the way to a sale.
Yep.
And a CRM attached to this will help push that person through.
Yeah.
Then you have a single sign on for your community because that becomes part of your pre sale potentially.
Yeah. Because look, you got it right on that part, but the second part is that expansion into existing accounts from users, right? So
Yeah.
I guess the point of that is there's huge opportunity, like you said, to because sales already has a way to look at leads and funnel leads and things like that. The thing I would want is it for to say community lead or something like that identifies that the community brought this lead in. You know, a very smart sales process is this. They do this thing called, I think it's called MQL or something, and basically that rates kind of the different ways that they engage with us. So if they engage with us in a webinar, that's 2 points. So they're trying to get to 10 points, let's say. If they engage with us on community, maybe that's another 2 points. If they engage with us on, downloaded something,
Oh,
digitally,
they're
it's another
grading.
point.
Yeah,
And
they're
then it's
grading
like,
customer
oh, this guy's
interaction.
ready. This guy's ready. We need to call him. It means it's a really hard lead or something like that. And that's kind of I guess a smart way to do it, or maybe it's not. I don't know, but They don't just call oh my God, you're on the community. Thanks for signing up. Is there a reason why? You know
No,
what I mean? Like,
what you're doing is you're scoring the lead.
yeah,
And I totally
yeah, and that's
understand
what they
it.
do.
Once they reach a certain percentage based on their algorithm they want to judge on,
But
then
communities leads could be different, right? Like, I mean,
I agree.
maybe overall it's a two, but then what if the customer and or the lead posts, which I've seen this on two of my communities a few times, is, hey, I'm trying to talk to a sales guy. How do I do this?
Yeah.
I'm like,
So
red hot lead.
now you're entering in another area that gets me all in another bent out of shape thing about is how you score that lead. It
Yeah,
could be that they have some old ways of scoring
yeah,
where are very kind of sales metric focused. But again, if you're going to not attack, but how do you do a? I'm sorry. Let me go back and say more than likely the scoring is based on hard um, things they know. How do you add soft metrics like number of logins to number of logins to the site, period, views, and some other things that kind of tell you what else is going
yeah.
on.
Well, that's true. I think we're getting too deep here, but
Yeah, I
yeah,
know.
I
That's
like
why I
it.
was like, okay, I'm just gonna stop because I could just go into another area.
Yeah.
I,
So,
I think we answered the question roundabout, but it brought up a whole other piece of things because I like the
look,
whole value part. It's really just down to what is your company doing, and I agree, your manager plays a big portion of that.
yeah, let me say this. These are some things that I look at, and we can go because it's already
Yeah.
time. But today, some of the things I look at is registrations, active users. So there's, it tells you how many active users are in the system, new threads and replies. Um, so I look at traffic by source. So, for example, where's our traffic coming from? Page views is one metric that they like a lot. It's not my favorite, but unique visitors. So that's the same as users,
Mm-hmm.
or yeah, it's Google calls it users. They used to call it unique visitors. Um, and then daily or average threads per day, average response time, average replies, threads, and then the community, what I call visitor mix.
Mm-hmm.
So employees versus partners versus prospects versus customers. Those are the things I look at,
Mm.
and I
Um,
report into my executives.
so it's funny as you were going through that list. So the way I look at it is a bit more broad, right? So as a KPI person, I put down three areas to focus on. One is you need to provide a scale to your metrics. So this is going to be the things they're familiar with:
Yeah,
views, page views, bounce rates, all that kind of stuff, because that they already hear. Two, you need an engagement metric, and you mentioned a lot of the engagement metrics, and I agree with them. The third is on a member metric. So you mentioned a few of those too, and it's funny because as you're going through the list, I wanted to say scale, engage, member, because you were
yeah,
walking through that already, but that's just how you would present it. And then going back to the original question on sub two, which is, and then you need one metric that shows the major value to the business. And when we were before, we were using SEO to product sale
yeah.
because I can
That's it.
show that the influence of the community is can influence the purchase of a product way more than anything you're doing on your site, which is share of wallet increase, right? And it took us time to get to that metric so they understood it. But once they understood it, I reported all the time to show the increase over time. But anyway, that hopefully that makes sense.
Yeah, it was that we can go here shortly, but it was that metric that what percentage of our traffic are we leading to the e-commerce site?
Yep,
That was your big.
that's a
So
big
our
thing.
goal was 10% or something like that.
Yep, and I
So we
became
wanted to,
another channel.
yeah, and then community became another channel. Now we couldn't help if they logged in or not, to that site or created a
Correct.
login, but what we could do is push traffic, percentage of our traffic over to
Yep.
the e-commerce sites directly, which
Yep.
to me is brilliant. It's like I look back on the things we did at Rexel. It was just nobody. I don't think many people appreciated that.
No, they
Like
didn't, which is crazy. It was like, you guys don't know this is solid stuff.
it is ridiculously solid. Like as much content there's. I mean, if I were to go back there, man, I know so much more now than I did obviously then. I
Yeah.
feel like that I could just make way better impact. Maybe I can't. That is a tough organization, but still, I mean,
I-
it was just what we did. I've never done that before again. You're like, it's like, dude, I want to go do that again.
yeah. The fun thing is it becomes part of your knowledge, and you go, okay, I know I can do this. I know I could do that. That's how I did it. I can replicate in some way here. That's the fun part.
Yeah, I
But
mean, some of it I replicate, but you don't have the same people, you don't have the same skills,
also
so
true. Yeah.
it's always going to be a little bit more challenging, and you don't remember everything you did. You know what I mean? Like
I
but
didn't even know what I ate last night.
that auto tagging, I think now is ridiculously awesome. Like that.
Yes.
I'm like, that would be, you just put in a thing of tags, that you know of, and then it just boom auto tags anytime. Maybe it runs a job or something every whatever, and boom, it auto. Anyways,
But I find some
we get,
fascinating that even in some community platforms, that's not even a thing.
at Higher Logic does they have this thing called topic discussions. So instead of having a regular discussion, forum, a person, if they post, they'd have to pick a topic, and that topic really is just a hashtag. So but they're made
Right.
to click something, or push
Yeah.
something, so it could say Realtio platform. They'd have to click on Realtio platform, it creates a hashtag Realtio platform, so at
Hmm.
least you could have a 10 topic. You don't want to do that many, because it's just like a
No, it
drop
needs to be
down.
like a zeitgeist of things. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just a drop down of 5 to 10, or something. But
Hmm.
I didn't do that this time because there was some issues with it, right? Like on reporting and some other stuff that I was like, I'm not dealing with that shit again.
Like,
But
meh.
it's important, because now I got to go in and tag all the fucking ones, because people don't really tag shit. It's just so you know. Anyways,
There should be just showing like people just don't tag shit.
yeah, they don't. And it's like,
That's so damn annoying.
yeah. So when you have like moderators and stuff, you'll have to get them to tag shit. It's just, sorry, it's just one of your jobs, tagging.
You should get, and then you get him a T-shirt that says "Tag your shit."
I like it. Tag your shit on the community. All right, Michael.
Okay, my friend. Well, it's wonderful talking to you once again, and I am one of your hosts, Michael Sandoval.
And I'm the other host, Chris Detzel.
All right, Chris, you have a good one.